The sky above the colony turned red as the first explosions shook the ground. Buildings crumbled, trees caught fire, and screams filled the air. The peaceful alien planet, known as Keller 9, had no army, no defense system, and no warning. The invaders came fast, without message or reason. Dark ships appeared in the sky, fired plasma blasts, and destroyed everything in their path. Elia, a young alien girl with blue skin and glowing eyes, ran through the dust with her little brother. Their home had already been hit, their mother buried under rubble. Their father was bleeding badly. Lying in the shadows of a broken wall, Elia dropped beside him, tears in her eyes. "Dad, what do we do?" she whispered. Her father winced and pointed to the communicator strapped to his wrist. "Send the signal, Elia," he groaned. Someone out there might hear it." Elia looked at the tiny device, her hands shaking. She didn't know much about it, only that her father used it for trading messages. Now it was their only hope. She pressed the red emergency button and watched the small screen blink. The words flashed. "Distress signal sent. Broadcasting on open channel." They waited, but nothing came back. Above them, another blast hit a nearby house, sending fire across the field. Elia grabbed her brother and pulled him close. Her father coughed and closed his eyes. In orbit, the raider ships circled the planet like vultures. The leader of the attack, a tall creature with 6 arms and a long scar across his face, laughed. "These weaklings can't even fight back," he said to his crew. "Kill the rest and take what you can." Far away, on the Galactic Council station, the signal reached a relay hub. A tired alien diplomat glanced at the screen, saw the code from Keller 9, and shrugged. "Too far," he said. "Too small, too poor." He turned it off, but the signal kept going. It bounced through the void, passing hundreds of systems. Most ignored it, some never heard it, until it reached the edge of known space, a region most aliens feared, a place called Deathworld Sector 17. There, orbiting a dark red star, was a massive black space station, silent and armed. Inside, a figure in armor sat in a command chair, his face hidden under a cold helmet. Captain Knox, leader of the 7th Terran Response Fleet, looked at the blinking signal. "Keller 9, his AI assistant said. "Non-aligned colony, low-tech, not under Terran protection." Knox stared at the screen. "Play the message," he ordered. Elia's small voice filled the room. "This is Keller 9. Please, they're attacking us. Please, someone help. Please." Then static. For a moment, no one moved. Then Knox stood up. "Bring the ship online," he said, full alert. "But Captain," the eye said, "this action will not be approved by the Galactic Council. We don't answer to them." Knox said, his voice low, "You know the code." The AI paused, then said, "Terran military code, if a child sends a distress signal, we respond." Knox nodded. "Then suit up, back on Keller 9. Elia held her father's hand as his breathing slowed. Night was falling, and the fires made the sky glow orange. She whispered stories to her brother, trying to keep him calm. "We're going to be okay," she said, but her voice was weak. She didn't believe her own words. Then the wind shifted. The ground trembled again, but not from an explosion. This was something else, something bigger. Elia looked up. A shadow crossed the sky, massive, silent, unnatural. The fires around them dimmed as a ship blocked the stars. It wasn't like the raider ships. This one was different, darker, stronger, and full of quiet power. Then a second one appeared, and a third, in orbit. The raider commander stared at his screens. "What is that?" he shouted. "Who are they?" Before his crew could answer, their screens turned black. A single message appeared in red text. "Distress signal received by Terran Command. Stand by for response." Back on the surface, Elia's eyes filled with tears. She felt something strange, something she hadn't felt since the attack began. "Hope," her brother pointed at the sky. "Who are they?" he asked. She smiled weakly. "I don't know," she whispered. "But I think they're here for us." In space, The Terran warships powered up their weapons. Every gun, every missile, every shield came online, and deep in the command ship, Nox stood at the center. Looking down at the burning planet, his voice was calm. "Mark all hostile ships," he said. "Target confirmed." The Terran fleet moved into attack position, one by one, their systems locked onto the raider ships. And then, without warning, they fired. The raiders never expected a reply. Their ships were fast, their weapons cruel, and they had destroyed many worlds before. No one ever stopped them. No one ever fought back. Keller 9 was supposed to be just another name on their list. But something had changed. Something had arrived. From the smoke of the upper atmosphere, the first human warship appeared. It was black, shaped like a long blade, and made no sound. It didn't send a warning, didn't show lights, didn't even show its flag. It simply hovered in place, above the burning ground. Then it fired. A single beam of energy shot out clean. Blue and bright, it sliced through the lead raider ship like it was paper. The explosion was silent at first. Then the sound followed, loud and shaking. Raider crews screamed over comms as their systems failed. One by one, their ships started falling from the sky. Where is that fire coming from? The raider commander shouted. His 6 arms moved fast over the control panel. Who are they? No one answered. All screens were either dark or flashing red. Radar systems spun out of control. Cloaks failed. Targeting scrambled. Then another Terran warship dropped from orbit, this one larger. It looked old and damaged, but it moved like a predator. As it came down, dozens of drones launched from its belly. Each drone locked onto a target and flew with impossible speed. Below, Elia sat with her brother in the burned-out ruins. She looked up as more dark ships came down from the sky. This time she wasn't scared. She knew, deep in her heart, that these were not raiders. They were here to protect. A dropship landed just meters away from her. Its hull was thick, dark gray. With scratches from old battles, the door hissed open, and smoke spilled out. From it stepped a tall figure in black armor. No face was visible, just a dark helmet with glowing red eyes. He didn't say a word at first. He looked at the two children, scanned them, and nodded. "You're safe now," the voice said, low and clear. "Med team incoming." Elia opened her mouth to ask who he was, but before she could speak, another explosion rocked the ground. The human soldier turned around quickly and raised a weapon. A massive cannon unfolded from his back and locked into position. He aimed it toward the hill. "Contact," he said, then fired. The blast was so loud Elia had to cover her ears. The hill where a raider sniper had been hiding exploded into dust. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but a crater. The human didn't even flinch. Behind him, more Terran soldiers landed. They worked like machines, silent, fast and organized. One began scanning the area. Another set up a force field around Elia and her brother. 2 others moved toward the ruined village to look for survivors. A medical drone flew down and sprayed foam on Elia's father's wounds. The bleeding stopped almost instantly. "Dad's breathing," she whispered, amazed. The drone blinked a green light. The human soldier looked at her again. "You did." "Good," he said, "sending that signal. That saved your world." In orbit, more Terran ships exited hyperspace. These ones were bigger, true warships, some over 10 kilometers long. They formed a wall in space, surrounding Keller 9 from every side. Nothing would escape, nothing would enter. Inside the Terran flagship Black Sky, Captain Nox watched the battlefield. "Status?" he asked. "All raider ships targeted," the AI replied. 3 destroyed. 5 disabled, 2 escaping. Nox narrowed his eyes. "No escape," he said. "Dispatch interceptor units." From the underbelly of Black Sky, fast and deadly, Terran interceptors launched. They looked like black arrows, almost invisible. They caught the 2 fleeing raider ships in seconds. With quiet precision, they hit the engines. The ships drifted, helpless, then were torn apart by automated gunfire. Back on the ground, the alien survivors began to come out of hiding, old, Men, mothers, children all stared at the armored humans in awe. They expected monsters, but saw protectors. The Terrans spoke little, but their actions were clear. They guarded the weak, healed the hurt, and destroyed those who had caused the pain. The raider commander tried to regroup his last unit. He screamed orders, cursed at his crew, but it was too late. His ship was surrounded, and his weapons were offline. Suddenly, a message appeared on his screen. It was from Black Sky. And it had only 3 words: "You were warned." A second later, a pinpoint railgun shot went through his command deck. His entire ship shattered from within. Nox stood silently on the bridge, watching the final battle end. He did not cheer. He did not smile. His only thought was the voice of that little girl, the one who cried out for help. That voice had reached them, and now she was safe. He turned to his crew. "Prepare ground support," he said. "We're staying until the last child is safe, the last home rebuilt, and the last raider turned to ash." And so, the Deathworlders humans came down like judgment. They didn't come for politics or for power. They came because a child called for help. And when a child calls, humans always answer. Far from the fires of Keller 9, deep inside a human space station near the edge of Deathworld Sector 17, a red light flashed inside a sealed room. Captain Nox stood at the center, arms crossed, staring at the screen that still showed Elia's broken voice repeating over and over, "Please, please help us. They're hurting everyone." All around him, soldiers and operators worked in silence. They were not part of the Galactic Council, not bound by its lazy rules. They were Terrans, and Terrans had their own code. General Avis, an older woman with gray streaks in her short hair, stepped beside Nox. "You deployed without Council permission again," she said calmly. Nox didn't look at her. "I did." "They'll be angry," she continued. "They don't want humans involved in minor colony issues." Nox turned to her slowly. "Do they call screaming children minor issues now?" General Avis said nothing. The room went quiet except for the soft echo of Elia's voice from the recording. "I don't care what the Council wants." Nox said, "A child called. We answered." He stepped toward a terminal and pulled up Terran military protocols. "Protocol 4B, he read out loud. "If a distress signal is sent by a civilian miner and no local force responds within 1 hour, Terran command will engage." Avis nodded slowly. "You'll be called a warmonger." "I've been called." "Worse," Nox replied. Meanwhile, in the barracks below the station, human soldiers checked their armor and weapons. They were not ordinary troops. They were Deathworlders, born and raised on a planet so dangerous that every day was a fight to live. Their bodies were stronger, their minds sharper, their tolerance for pain unmatched. One of them, Sergeant Kellen, loaded his railgun and smiled. "I heard we're going to stomp another raider fleet," he said. His teammate, a quiet man with cybernetic eyes, nodded. "They picked the wrong planet this time." In another hangar, massive walkers were being prepped, walking tanks with legs like trees and cannons for arms. AI drones swarmed over them, repairing dents and repainting symbols. One symbol showed a child's handprint over a human helmet. It was the sign of Protocol 4B, a message to all who saw it. This world was hurt, and humans came in a separate chamber. Engineers looked at the recovered data from the raider ships. "What did we find?" Nox asked, stepping in. The lead tech swallowed nervously. "These weren't just raiders," he said. "They were hired." Nox's eyes narrowed. "By who?" The tech hesitated, then tapped the screen. A symbol appeared, a blood-red triangle with 3 black stars. Nox froze. "The Zarnik Syndicate," he said quietly. Avis walked in behind him. "They wouldn't move openly," she said. "They always use others. But this time they got sloppy," Nox said, "and they hurt children." Nox turned to the tech. "Send the data to all ships and prepare a message." "To who?" the tech asked. Nox didn't blink. "To the Zarnik Syndicate," he said. "Let's see if they remember what humans are capable of." Back on Keller 9, Elia watched the sky with wide eyes. She saw giant machines moving across the fields, human. Walkers helping rebuild homes, soldiers stood guard at the edge of villages. Scanning the skies, medical teams treated the sick, engineers fixed water systems. But one thing never changed. The humans always stayed quiet, focused, cold, efficient. Elia turned to the armored soldier who saved her family. "Why did you come?" she asked. The man looked down at her. "Because you asked us to, that's it." She asked, confused. He nodded once. "Sometimes that's all it takes, in space." Terran Command sent out a broadcast wide open, no encryption. It reached every major system within 2 hours. It said, "To the Zarnik Syndicate, we know to all other powers. A child asked for help, and we answered. To the cowards who watched and did nothing, we're not like you." The message shook the galaxy. The Galactic Council panicked behind closed doors. They had always feared the Terrans, not because of numbers, but because of will. Humans didn't play politics. They moved, they struck, and they never asked for permission. The Zarnik Syndicate, hidden in their luxury palaces, received the message too. They laughed at first. "It's just humans," said one of their generals. "They bark loud but bite small." But others remembered history. They remembered what happened the last time humans got angry. Entire moons burned. Fleets vanished. Warlords disappeared. One whispered, "We should not have touched the child." Captain Knox sat alone in his quarters, watching the stars pass outside. A small voice echoed again from the recording. "Please help us." He closed his eyes. This wasn't over. Kellerine was safe for now. But the people who had funded the attack still lived, still plotted. And he knew they would try again somewhere else, some other world. But next time, humans would be ready before the first cry was heard. Because once Deathworlders moved, nothing could stop them. The planet Kellerine had gone quiet. The fires were out, the survivors safe, and the raiders gone. But Captain Knox knew. This was only the beginning. Raider groups didn't act on their own, not with advanced weapons and rare stealth tech. Someone powerful had sent them, and now that power was about to be tested, inside the command room aboard the Black Sky. Knox stood over a glowing table. A 3D map showed multiple enemy hideouts across nearby sectors. One by one, red dots blinked, each one marked by Terran scouts. The eye beside him, known only as Warden, spoke calmly. "All targets confirmed, sir. Coordinates locked." Knox didn't hesitate. "Begin the strikes." Far above the planet, the Terran fleet split. Each warship warped away with a burst of silent light. They didn't wait for permission, didn't ask for allies. They moved like wolves, silent, fast, deadly. The first strike came in Sector 8V, where a pirate station floated near an asteroid field. It took only 14 seconds. One Terran destroyer uncloaked, released 3 gravity mines, and warped out. The station was torn apart mid-broadcast. No warning, no survivors. The second target was harder, a mobile weapons lab deep inside a rogue moon. Knox sent 2 squads of infantry, led by Sergeant Kellen. The human soldiers dropped silently through the moon's thin atmosphere. Inside, they met resistance mercenaries, hired killers, even war beasts, but they didn't slow down. They moved like shadows through the halls. Every shot was clean, every corner cleared. Kellen kicked open the final door, aimed his railgun, and spoke into his com. "Room secured, data retrieved." Knox heard the message and nodded. "Good. Get out." The lab exploded 30 seconds after Kellen's team left. A warning to anyone watching: humans didn't just strike. They erased, back on Kellerine. Elia sat in a field of flowers that had somehow survived the fires. Her little brother played with a drone, chasing it like a bird. A human medic watched. Nearby, quiet and still, Elia looked up as a shadow passed over them. Another dropship leaving the surface. "They're going," she said softly. "They saved us. And now they're going." The medic knelt beside her. "They're not going far," he said. "Until this is over. You're under Terran protection." She nodded slowly, still not fully understanding, but she felt safer than ever before. And that was enough. Meanwhile, Knox reviewed the data pulled from the lab. Names, codes, secret routes. Everything led to the same name. Zarnek Syndicate. It was more than just a criminal network. It was a hidden empire running weapons, selling slaves, starting wars, and now, Knox had proof they were behind the attack on Keller 9. He sent a message to all ships. Operation Ashfall is active. Confirm engagement. Across the fleet, Terran captains responded. Confirmed. Confirmed. Knox sent another message, this one open to the galaxy. It was short. To Zarnek Syndicate, you spilled innocent blood, now you face Earth. The message spread like wildfire. Aliens across systems gasped. Governments held meetings. Some laughed, thinking humans were just posturing, but others went silent, remembering what humans had done in past wars. They didn't fight for glory or riches. They fought with purpose. And they never stopped until the enemy was gone, within hours. The Terran fleet struck 5 more Syndicate bases. Each strike was precise. Each result the same: complete destruction. No speeches, no mercy, just cold justice. The Zarnek's War Council finally reacted. Inside their floating palace above the gas world Tyros, the leaders shouted over each other. They're mad. They'll ruin everything. They're just one species. But one old general stood quietly at the edge of the room. He had fought in the border wars, seen what Terrans could do. They are not like us, he said slowly. They do not bluff. Back aboard Black Sky, Knox stared at a holoscreen showing the Syndicate's palace. Think they'll talk? Asked Avis, now in full armor beside him. No, Knox replied. But we're not here to talk. Warden added, strike fleet ready, warp in 30 seconds. Knox gave the order. Take US in. And the stars blurred. The Zarnek's palace was huge, lined with gold, surrounded by shields, defended by 10 massive cruisers. They were prepared for almost anything, but not for Deathworlders. The Terran fleet arrived without lights, without warning, in seconds. 3 Zarnek's cruisers vanished in fire. The remaining ones tried to scatter, but their engines failed, hacked by Terran AI, missiles, drones, railguns. Everything moved at once on the palace bridge. The Syndicate leader screamed, "Defend us!" But his own guards dropped their weapons. A message appeared on every screen inside the palace. We found you. Then the final blow came. A Terran orbital weapon code named Heaven's Bite, fired from deep space. It struck the palace like lightning. Everything went silent. From Keller 9, Elia watched a small flash in the distant sky. She didn't know what it meant, but she smiled. Her world was safe, and somewhere out there, the humans were still watching, and they were not done yet. The galaxy was shaking. No one expected the humans to respond with such fury. The Zarnek Syndicate had lost more in 1 week than in the last 50 years. Bases gone, fleets scattered, leaders dead. But still, the real mastermind hadn't shown their face. Captain Knox knew. The job wasn't finished. Not yet. Inside Black Sky, the command center was quiet. Knox stood with his arms behind his back, eyes locked on a flickering screen. It showed grainy footage from a broken Zarnek base, a conversation caught by accident. 2 voices spoke in. The shadows both distorted. One asked, "Did the humans take the bait?" The other replied, "Yes, now we move phase 2. Knox paused the video, his jaw tight. "That's what I thought," he muttered. Ava stood next to him, frowning. "You're saying this wasn't just a Syndicate hit?" Knox nodded slowly. "It was a setup," he said. "Someone wanted us to respond like this." A silence fell across the room. Then the AI warden spoke. "New intel confirms unknown financial routes connected to both the Syndicate and the Council core worlds." Ava's turned her head sharply. "The Council?" "They wouldn't dare." Knox said nothing, but deep down, he already knew. The Galactic Council had been afraid of Terrans for decades. They never trusted humans, never welcomed them fully, and now, maybe they saw a chance to weaken them. Play the second clip, Knox said. The screen showed a blurry image, a council chamber filled with robed aliens. One stood up and said, If we push them hard enough, the humans will become monsters. Another nodded. Let them burn out their anger, and the rest of the galaxy will turn against them. Nox clenched his fists. They wanted us to lose control, he said. They wanted to make us look like the villains. Avis looked at him. So what do we do now? Nox turned slowly, his voice cold and steady. We show them what real monsters look like. Meanwhile, on Keller 9, Elia walked through her village. Holding a small human-made lantern, it lit the path softly, glowing blue. The air smelled like clean soil and fresh metal. Terrans had helped build shelters with strong alloy roofs and energy walls. But what stood out most was the silence. Not the silence of fear, but the silence after a storm. Children played. Again, farms had started to grow, but everyone knew this peace was fragile. It had been bought with fire and blood. An armored Terran passed by, nodding politely to Elia. She stopped him. Is the danger gone now? She asked. The soldier's voice came through his helmet, calm and low. Not yet, he said, but soon. Back in space, the Terran fleet didn't slow down. Nox gave new orders: covert scans, hidden probes, silent tracking across Council-controlled systems. If the Council wanted to play games, humans would play too, but better. No grand speeches, no open threats, just precision, silence, and facts. Soon they found it. A hidden lab station orbiting a dead planet in Council territory. No ID, no flag. No known purpose, but inside, Terran spies uncovered a dark secret. Inside that lab were files on hundreds of planets, thousands of species, and on one screen. Keller 9, detailed maps, energy scans, mineral reports, and a red mark labeled Target Bait Zone. Nox saw it all. They picked Keller 9 not because it was weak, he said, but because it was visible. They wanted the humans to attack. To go loud, to look dangerous. And it almost worked, almost. Nox sent the files to every Terran ship. Let the crew know the truth, he said. If anyone still doubts why we fight. This is why. In the Zarnex ruins, another piece of the puzzle came forward. A survivor, an old alien worker, was found hiding in a fuel tank. He was terrified, shaking, but he spoke. They paid us extra to keep the children alive. Just long enough to send the signal. Avis's face went pale. They used the kids to lure us in. Nox didn't speak for a long time. Then he whispered. They planned every scream. That night, the Black Sky sent a transmission through. Back channels, not to governments, but to people, across thousands of systems. Screens lit up in homes, bars, ships, and streets. A child's voice echoed through space. Elia's voice. Please. Someone, help us. Then Nox's voice followed. We heard that call, he said, and we answered. But the ones who made the child scream did it on purpose. They wanted us to be feared. They wanted you to turn away from us. The screen showed pictures, burned villages, raider fleets, hidden Council data, and then it showed Elia smiling, alive and safe. Nox ended the message with one line. We will protect the innocent, even if the galaxy calls us monsters. The people saw it, and they believed on Keller 9. Elia looked up at the stars. She didn't understand all the politics, all the war, but she understood one thing. The humans came when no one else did. And that meant everything. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, the Council held an emergency meeting. Shut down all Terran broadcasts, one member barked. Blame them for the violence, another added. But one younger member whispered, they're not the ones we should fear. The game had changed, and the humans were no longer pieces on the board. They were the ones flipping the table. And soon, whole galaxy would feel it. The night sky over Keller 9 shimmered strangely. What looked like falling stars weren't stars at all. They were Terran strike pod sleek, dark capsules burning through the upper atmosphere in total silence. Each pod carried one soldier, one purpose. The mission was simple: hit the real enemy before they could vanish again, far above. Captain Nox stood on the bridge of the Black Sky, arms folded. Behind him, battle reports poured in. Council agents were already trying to cover their tracks. erasing files, moving assets, but the humans were faster. "This is it," said Avis beside him, her tone grim. "The hidden core base. We finally have a confirmed location." A few hours earlier, a spy drone captured clear footage. A strange research facility built deep into a frozen planet's crust. No name, no flags, no come signals, just ships. Coming and going unmarked, silent, deadly. Knox studied the footage on loop. The design was unmistakable. It wasn't Zarnik's, it was council grade. "We strike now," Knox said. "No speeches. No warnings, sir," Warden added. "Are we certain this is the heart of it?" Knox nodded. "If it's not the heart, it's the spine." The strike pods hit the surface like hammers. Snow burst up in white clouds. Metal cracked under pressure. From inside the pods, Deathworlder soldiers emerged, silent, armored, eyes glowing through their visors. They moved like shadows across the ice, not leaving a single trace. Inside the enemy base, alarms suddenly screamed. Council guards rushed to positions, shouting in panic. "No one's supposed to know this place exists." But it was too late. The first squad of humans breached through the ventilation shafts. Explosives silently peeled open bulkhead doors. Laser swords hummed to life, cutting through reinforced metal like cloth. Sergeant Kellen led the charge. He didn't speak, he simply moved. A ghost in black armor. Every step calculated, every shot precise. Enemy after enemy fell before they could even react. One council scientist tried to run with a datapad. Kellen pinned him to the wall with a magnetic bolt. "Where's the girl's file?" he asked coldly. "The one from Keller 9, the scientist stuttered. We told to use her, not kill her. It was strategy politics." Kellen leaned in. "She's 6, he growled. "And you turned her into bait." The datapad was ripped from the scientist's hands. The contents were worse than expected. Thousands of files each one, a list of targets, poor colonies, fringe worlds, hidden resources, every one marked for controlled crisis. Humans were listed in bold red text under a folder. Predictable aggressors. They weren't just trying to hurt people. They were using the Terran's compassion against them, weaponizing the very thing that made humanity different. Back on the black sky, the data poured into Knox's screen. His face darkened with every line he read. "They thought we'd destroy ourselves trying to save others," he muttered. "They turned our honor into a trap, but humans were not so easy to manipulate." One by one, the Terran squads disabled core systems. They uploaded the truth into the base's communication grid. Every file, every hidden plan, every piece of this sick strategy was exposed and sent uncensored to every major channel in the galaxy. Within minutes, the footage went viral. Videos of innocent planets marked as test zones. Children listed under emotional leverage assets. Even council delegates approving fake pirate attacks. The galaxy exploded in anger. Billions saw the truth and turned on the council. Protests broke out across core worlds. Governments cut ties, allies withdrew. Even some council fleets refused to take orders. The humans hadn't just struck a base. They had lit a fire in the hearts of 1,000 worlds. Inside the enemy base, the final chamber held a strange machine tall, humming, built around a crystal core. Kellen and his team approached carefully. "It's not a weapon," one soldier said. Scanning it, "It's a gate." "A gate to where?" Kellen asked. Warden, monitoring remotely, answered, "Unknown. But data suggests they plan to use it for emergency escape, possibly to an uncharted region." Knox's voice came through comms. "Destroy it." Kellen nodded and placed a neutron charge on the core. "Goodbye. Secret plans," he said. Then he and his squad climbed out as the countdown began. From orbit, Black Sky observed a small explosion ripple through the frozen planet. A second later, the core cracked and the machine was gone. Knox exhaled slowly. That was the last piece. Avis looked at him. "Do you think they'll stop now?" Knox didn't answer right away. "They won't," he said at last. "But now they know something important. He turned to the screen where the council seal flickered. "We don't just react," he said. "We strike back. And we expose." On Keller 9, Elia sat with a human engineer who taught her how to fix a water pump. She laughed as her brother splashed water at her. The stars above looked peaceful again. But no one forgot what had happened, and everyone knew the humans were still watching. They didn't stay for medals or praise. They stayed until the job was done, and even when they left. Their message remained, "Hurt the innocent. And we will come, and this time you won't be ready." The galaxy was no longer quiet. The truth had spread like fire. Billions of beings across different worlds now knew what the council had done. They saw the children, the burned homes, the secret labs, and they saw who stood in the flames. Humans. While council leaders scrambled to deny everything, the Terran fleets didn't slow down. They didn't threaten, they didn't talk, they just moved, every base connected to controlled. Crisis was now marked, every route, every facility, every false operation. Terran AI ships traced them across the stars with silent precision. Captain Knox stood in the heart of black sky, watching the final targets appear on the hollow table. His expression was calm but cold. "We're done warning them," he said. "Now we erase the last pieces." Ava stood beside him, arms crossed. "You think the council will fight back?" "They won't have the chance," Knox replied. "They're too busy covering their own tracks." And it was true. Council command ships began to vanish, not because of human weapons, but because their own captains mutinied. Soldiers refused to carry out false orders. Diplomats walked away in shame. Whole colonies declared neutrality, cutting all contact with the Central Council. In the chaos, the final council elite made one last desperate move. A secret vault, hidden in the core of a dying star system. Inside it, they stored backup data, gold reserves, and powerful AI programs, meant to control planetary communications. They thought it was untouchable. They thought wrong. Knox deployed Phantom Unit 9, a team made entirely of human-augmented cyborgs. They had no faces, no names, just numbers and purpose. They warped into the system in a stealth ship with heat cloaks and echo silence. In 6 minutes, the vault's outer defenses fell. In 10, the inner core was breached. One council general inside shouted, "They're not soldiers, they're machines." But it didn't matter. The vault was destroyed from the inside. Its memory wiped clean. The last council whisper tried to send a call to allies, anyone who would help. But the message was intercepted. A single reply came back. "You made children." Scream, now hear the silence. Across the galaxy, statues of council leaders were pulled down. Holoscreens once filled with propaganda were now filled with Terran footage rescue missions, rebuilding efforts, protection zones, everywhere the council failed. Humans were already helping. On Keller 9, the first school since the attack opened, a sign over the gate said, "Built by Terran engineers. For all species." Elia stood in front of it, holding her little brother's hand. She wore a small badge on her shirt, 2 planets joined by a silver star, the symbol of unity after the war. Nearby, a human soldier helped install solar panels on the roof. He smiled at Elia. She waved back. They didn't speak, but they didn't need to. The message was clear. Humans had come, and they had stayed, back aboard Black Sky. Avis entered the observation deck. Knox stood looking out at the stars, most of them peaceful again, but one system blinked red on the far edge of the map. "What's that?" she asked. Knox didn't look away. "A council escape ship," he said, "trying to reach neutral space." "Orders?" Knox paused for a long moment, then said, "Let them run." Avis raised an eyebrow. "Mercy?" Knox shook his head. "Let the galaxy deal with them," he said. "We've done enough cleaning." The AI warden suddenly interrupted. "Captain, receiving over 1,000 alliance requests from colonies, fleets, even ex-council members." Knox gave a quiet laugh. "Now they want to join us." He turned around and looked at his crew. "Remind them," he said, "we didn't do this for power or territory. We did it because a little girl asked for help." The bridge went quiet. Everyone remembered that voice. Elya's voice, tiny, shaking, but clear. Please. Someone help us. And they had. The Terran fleets began returning home, but not all of them. Some stayed behind on Keller 9 and other small worlds that needed protection. They didn't build empires, they built trust. Humanity didn't. Rise to rule. They rose to defend, and the stars remembered that. At the edge of Keller 9, Elya sat beneath a tree, looking at the sky. Her brother played with a human-made toy, a small ship that hovered and beeped. A shadow fell over her. She looked up and saw Captain Knox standing nearby. He looked different without his helmet, older, with tired eyes and a calm smile. "Thank you for coming," Elya said. Knox knelt beside her. "No," he said softly. "Thank you for calling." The war had ended, but the memory would stay. A memory that whispered across galaxies. Humans didn't come to conquer. They came because no one else did, and when they did, destruction followed for the wicked, and peace for the innocent. The stars were quiet again. No more distress signals echoed through the cold black of space. No more cries from children. No more hidden attacks. The war was over. But the memory of what happened stayed in every system, every home, every heart. The day the humans answered. The day the Deathworlders rose, not to destroy, but to defend. Keller 9, once a forgotten colony, was now a symbol. What began as a trap turned into a turning point. It was where the galaxy saw the truth. Not in politics, not in council halls, but in the way a human soldier knelt beside a scared alien child and said, "You're safe now." Captain Knox walked through the rebuilt village. No helmet, no armor, just a long coat with the Terran symbol across his back. Everywhere he passed, aliens nodded with respect. Not fear, respect. A young boy ran to him. Not Elya's brother, but another child from the nearby sector. He held out a drawing made with charcoal and blue ink. It showed a black Terran warship above a small house. Knox smiled and accepted the gift. "You're the man from the sky." The boy said shyly, "I'm just a man," Knox replied, kneeling. "But I come from a world where we don't ignore cries for help." News spread fast across the stars. Terran Command announced a new program, the Guardian Pact. It was not a military alliance, it was a promise. Any planet, no matter how poor or small, could sign the pact, and if they were attacked, humans would come. It changed everything. For the first time, fringe worlds had hope. Slaver rings shut down almost overnight. Pirates scattered before they could blink. And council officials who once smiled in comfort now lived in fear of exposure. The pact was clear. We are not your rulers. We are not your conquerors. We are your shield when no one else will lift one. But not all welcomed this new balance. Some powerful empires saw humans as dangerous, too fast, too strong, too human. They tried to paint the Deathworlders as warmongers. They called them monsters. But every time they spoke, the galaxy remembered Keller 9. They remembered Elya's voice, the broken houses, the silent drones, the black ships, and the hand that reached out to lift a crying child from rubble. Elya had grown a little taller since that day. She now helped others, young ones who came from colonies once under attack. Her village became a safe zone, a place where all species were welcome. Her school, built by human hands, taught not just reading and numbers, it taught truth, that unity was stronger than fear, and that silence in the face of evil was no longer acceptable. She kept a simple object on her shelf, her father's communicator, the one that sent the original distress call. It didn't work anymore, but it was a reminder that sometimes a single voice could wake up giants on Earth. Statues were not built. There were no grand celebrations, because humans didn't need praise. They needed peace, and they worked for it every day. Captain Knox returned to Earth quietly. No parades, no medals, just a report, a handshake, and a quiet room where he sat with a cup of black coffee. He looked out at the night sky above the Terran base and whispered, "Still watching," because he was, even from far away. The Terrans still listened, still watched the skies for calls that others would ignore. They trained new soldiers not to kill, but to protect. They built ships not for glory, but for rescue, and they shared their tech not for control, but for healing, in every Terran outpost. A simple phrase was carved into the wall. We came because you were hurt, not because you were useful. That truth, more than any weapon, changed the galaxy. Some whispered that Deathworlders were still dangerous, and they were right. But not because of their guns, or ships, or strength. They were dangerous because they cared. And nothing was more terrifying to those in power than beings who were willing to burn the stars for someone else's child. Elia once asked Nox before he left, "Will you ever come back?" Nox had smiled gently. "If you ever need us again," he said, "just speak." And now, every world knew what that meant. Every planet, rich or poor, strong or weak, understood the rule. If you hurt the innocent, if you use fear to rule, if you think no one is watching, you're wrong, because somewhere out there, a Terran ship waits, silent, black, unseen, waiting for a single signal, a whisper in the dark, and when that call comes, the Deathworlders will answer again, not with speeches, not with banners, but with fire, and the galaxy will remember. Aliens cried out for help, and the humans answered, bringing with them absolute destruction only for those who deserved it.